Okay, we need to discuss research for your brief paper. So I just want to kind of start this conversation by reviewing what we're doing here and what our plan is. I apologize if some of the instructions were not clear enough, so I'm going to kind of backtrack to start this conversation. So last week I had you do a research topic investigation. The assignment used to be called 3 Paper Ideas, and maybe that old title indicated better the task that you had. Anyway, this was not meant to be scientific. This is meant to be a brainstorming activity to get you thinking about topics that you may be interested in, and to kind of make you realize that you are going to have so many paragraphs, that you're going to have to include an opposing argument, just thinking about your current knowledge about these topics. So it was not meant to be scientific. It was meant to be a brainstorming activity to get you to pick apart and think about these different topics. I have gone in and added this instruction for future classes. You will be selecting your best option from this activity as the focus of your brief paper. Okay, so I apologize that that was not made clear to you originally. I hope that through this week's discussion that has become more apparent. I have also enhanced these instructions a little bit as well. So here I have put, now that you've brainstormed ideas for 3 different topics, decide on which one you will focus on for the brief paper. Reflect on last week's research topic investigation to answer the following questions. So I hope that helps explain that yes, you explored 3, and you did that so that you could have a really good understanding of what topic you wanted to work with for this first paper. So, and let me pause and say this. You are not, you don't have, the other 2 topics that you don't pick, you don't ever have to talk about those. I mean, you don't have to do your next paper. You can start all over in this exploration process. So you're not married to them. You need to select the one that you are really settled on, and that's the one that you're going to start researching, which is the whole point of this video. So this week's reading is chapter 8 and section 4. Both of these deal with finding sources, researching, and chapter 8 specifically is about evaluating sources, so you need to read that very carefully. And then also section R deals with the whole research process. Okay, I want to point out what we are working towards here. So now that you have selected your topic, you're going to start researching, and you're going to be selecting articles and sources for your annotated bibliography. Now, if you're not clear on what an annotated bibliography is, there are plenty of examples and explanations. Also, in section R, you will find directions for annotated bibliography beginning on page 357. There's even a sample. Now let me point out that the sample is in MLA, and at this time we are moving to APA. So that is an important thing that you need to remember. We are using APA going forward in this class. So an annotated bibliography is where you analyze your sources for your paper. For our assignment, you are going to be picking 3 sources. You will have to add 1 more source for the final paper in a few weeks, but for now we are just looking for 3 separate sources, and you will be writing an annotated bibliography. So down here we have the rubric and tips, okay, just different explanations about what the annotated bibliography is. Okay. And then we have a sample annotated bibliography, and I want to show you this because, again, this has to be an APA, and so APA is a little bit different than MLA, but APA does not have a designated assignment for annotated bibliography, so you have to go by my instructions, and what we're going to do is just follow the MLA guidelines, and instead of using MLA citations, we will use APA. APA is quite different, And as we go forward, you will learn more about this. But this is it. You do not need a title page for your annotated bibliography. You do not need an abstract. This is what a final annotated bibliography will look like. You will have 3 separate entries, no extra spaces, alphabetized, okay? And in annotated bibliography, the annotation itself includes the type of source, a summary of the source, and an analysis of the source. Again, read pages 357 through 360 in a writer's reference to help you with this. These database passwords are sort of old, and so if you are off campus and you're not logged in and you want to access the database through the website, you can. But the other purpose of this particular video is to show you how to access our databases. So, tools and library book search, and you have all the databases here. I highly recommend ProQuest because you can get full text, so you'll click full text. Also, if you'll click peer reviewed, you know for sure that it is a scholarly source. Okay, and then you would just enter your keywords here. So if I were to be researching legalization of marijuana, which I'm not because it's not allowed, but anyway. I may do something like this where I put in those 2 words and just see what I can come up with. And it will generate a variety of sources, and all of the sources will have full text available. So this particular article is called Legalize Marijuana Without the Smoke. It is from the Canadian Medical Association Journal, okay? And so what if I clicked on that and decided that this was a really good source for me to use? I can download the actual article and print it. And also the beautiful thing about ProQuest is that you can cite your source. So if you hit cite, it should be the first one that comes up, APA 6th edition, copy and paste this information. This is your citation, okay? Now keep in mind that APA takes away the author's first name. It just uses initials. You want to make sure you read the article carefully and know your author's full name so that you can analyze it well. Okay, so that's using the databases. Play around with them. Again, ProQuest is the best. You may also use web sources, but make sure that you follow the guidelines listed in Chapter 8 and choose credible sources. .gov, .org, .edu are good places to start. Make sure that your sources do not have, that they do have sponsors, that they do not have a lot of bias, that they have plenty of linked references if you're using a web source. Wikipedia is not allowed, nor is procon.org. You may get ideas from these particular sites, but you cannot use them as sources for your paper or the annotated bibliography. So let's just be very clear. Let's go back and look at our class one more time. You guys are going to be researching the topic that you have settled on, that you're discussing in week 4 discussion. You have a topic now. Use the databases and web resources to research credible sources for your topic. Once you have found 3 good sources, you are going to construct an annotated bibliography for those 3 sources. Once we are done with the annotated bibliography, you will begin working on your actual paper, and it is possible that you will find new and better sources. It is possible that when you are doing the annotated bibliography that you have a source that you are reviewing that you do not plan to use at all. That is okay. The annotated bibliography is a review of sources, but by the time you get to the brief paper, you will have used 4 sources for your paper. So it may be the same, it may be a few different, whatever. There is some evolution that occurs here that you may discover that a source is not what you thought it would be, or that you've changed your thesis because of research or whatever. Okay, so I hope this helps clear up what we're doing. Please take a look at the sources that are linked with this assignment. And And also be sure to read your sections carefully. I'll go ahead and tell you that there are some videos listed down here in week 6. They don't look like they're open, but you should always be able to access anything that's on instructions and also anything that's linked. So there's some information about APA. If you're curious, you can go ahead and start looking at that. It's really not necessary. As long as you pay attention to your instructions and your samples here, you'll be fine with the annotated bibliography. So this week, start researching. Don't let it all pile up, and then all of a sudden in week 6 you have to do a draft real quick. Start researching and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks a lot.